Hello again, everybody. This is Jim Feist in Las Vegas. We're looking at the Wednesday games. There's not many of them, but we have 3 games in the College Insider Tournament. And the home teams, when we look at the sheet here, it's Mercer at Old Dominion, Robert Morris at Fairfield, Loyola Marymount at Utah State. Now, these are real home court advantages. So, this isn't neutral site stuff like the NCAA. So, we do have to look at the home and away bias in these tournaments. And what I mean by home and away bias, Mercer on the road against point spread teams 0-2. But Old Dominion at home against point spread teams that where there's a line, 5-8. So we got Robert Morris, who's probably I'll get into this a little deeper. 4-1 against the spread on the road against Fairfield, 6-6. Loyola Marymount 9-3 against Utah State, 8-7. That means when there's a line on their road and home games, that's how they worked out. Now, Old Dominion opens a 7.5-point favorite over Mercer. I don't see that line should be that high, but I will say this. Teams like Mercer, who don't play a regular schedule that we see every day, and get a feel for them. They go through all their games where there's no point spread. Florida Gulf Coast, Stetson, East Tennessee State, USC Upstate, Kennesaw State. Teams like this, we don't know much about these teams. We don't see them a lot. They're not carried on ESPN a lot or at all. But then they come into start playing teams with a neutral court side against Lipscomb. They're laying 10. They win by 8 against Florida Gulf Coast. These are conference games. They're laying 10. They lose the game straight up by 4. Then they get a couple of CIT tournament games at home against Tennessee State. Win that game by 8, lose laying 4, so they cover. And then Georgia State getting 3 at home against Georgia State. They win the game by 5. So at home in the tournament, they're 2-0, but this game is on the road, and that is a huge difference. So now we go down and let's take a look at Old Dominion. We know a little bit more about Old Dominion. We know a lot more about Old Dominion because about 90% of their games on the year were against the spread. They were 16-13 against the spread, but at home 5-8. Not that good against the spread at home. But let me see here. We have. Do we have any common denominator games here at all? I don't see. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Yeah, this is interesting. Mercer played USC Upstate at home, beat them 61-47. Did they play them again? Yeah, they played them on the road, beat them 73-66. Now, the common opponent thing doesn't always work out, but recently, at home, Old Dominion played USC Upstate, laying 9 points at home, beat them 65-66. So if you look at those 3 games, the 2 by Mercer against a common opponent and the game by Old Dominion against a common opponent, you don't see much of a difference. Old Dominion is a 7.5-point favorite in this game. And I just don't see a good reason to believe that. I think that number's too high. I think we're going to see it come down. And right now I would say that there's going to be value in the dog. Now, if that game come down to 6.5, obviously that could disappear. Because as you've seen in these tournament games, there's an awful lot that goes on in the last minute or so with the foul shots and how close they are to the line. So I would have to say that in this particular game, Mercer looks like the right side of the game. Now, the fact that Mercer's playing an away game after playing 2 straight home games is not a positive for them. Old Dominion playing their 3rd straight game at home is a positive. They could build some fan support from the student body. That might help them. But 7.5, folks, is too much. The next game, this Robert Morris, is a real mystery to me. Team is got a good record, 26-5, or 26-10, 5-1 against the spread, 4-1 on the road. Not a lot of games against the spread, but when they're talking about Fairfield, who's had a good year, 21-14. I know a lot about Fairfield. I have a good feel about Fairfield. But I will tell you this. People have been betting on Robert Morris. The lines have been going. The money's coming in on Robert Morris in almost every game they've played. And they have covered 4 of the last of the 5 games. They've had a line. So the bettors that know this team better than I do are telling us something. They're telling us they like them and the team's paying off. So I would watch out for this. Now, this game opened Fairfield 4, and one key spot has got it down to 3.5. Again, I know Fairfield, and playing at home now, they're playing their 3rd straight game at home in this tournament. They play well. They cover the number at home. They're good numbers at home. They're nobody to mess with. Robert Morris, though, it was surprising to me. They were actually favored at Toledo, and they buried Toledo. And Toledo is not that bad a team at home. So this Robert Morris might be somebody to really look out for. They've had one real bad game in their last 5 games. They played on the road to LIU Brooklyn and got pounded. Other than that, they have pretty good ratings against Monmouth, Wagner, Indiana State, and Toledo. I'd watch out for this club. The money is on the dog, on Robert Morris. The numbers say it's close. So I'm going to pass this game. I'm going to watch what they do in this game, see who comes out of it, and deal with it the next time. The 3rd game on our card for Wednesday is Loyola Marymount at Utah State. The game opened 5. It's still 5. There's no movement at all. I would say that you're looking at a reasonable line. Home side might be getting a little too much action. Loyola Marymount played 2 games, one against Fullerton and one against Weber, both at home. But the one against Weber, they were favored, and they won the game by 6 in overtime. They covered, but they needed an overtime to do it. So now this team here, Utah State, let's see, they both have reasonable winning records. Loyola Marymount's 21-12 on the year, 18-12 against the spread, which is very good. Utah State is 19-15, 14-13 against the number. But Loyola Marymount on the road, by the way, is 9-3 against the spread. Was exceptional. That's 3-1. That is an exceptional record. So you have to look out for any team that can post a record like that on the road against the spread. They are getting 5 from Utah State in this spot. This is their first road game in this tournament. Is that correct? Let me double check. Yes, it is. They put up at home. They did pretty well. Needed an overtime to beat Weber, but Weber's a very good basketball team. They're playing about the same kind of club here in Utah State. I look for a war. I think this one's going to be close, folks. One thing that's not going to be close, I have a game of the year coming up this week. You want to get on this. Make sure you sign up by Thursday for this game. It's $50 online. It's much cheaper if you make the call to 1-866-841-1655. This is my tournament game of the year. This game will not lose. This game will win, and it will be easy. And you want to get on this game. 1-866-841-1655. Till next time, make sure you win the money, and make sure you call. And make sure you go to jimfeist.tv each and every day for checkups. Okay? Talk to you later.